Hey everybody, welcome to another Car Meet Garage. We're here with our good friend Justin in the shop American Gasser in Saginaw, Michigan. This place is incredible. Thanks for having us here, dude.
Thanks for being here.
We thank the boss for letting us do this.
Of course, of course, gotta thank the boss.
Right. So, we'll jump right into it. And how did you get started into like building cars and basically your love for it?
So my kind of start got to be like most everybody's with my family. Some of my earliest memories are with my dad. He always owned Broncos, and so being a kid, we'd either be riding in the back of the Bronco, or they were jacked up enough. Me and my brother were playing underneath the Bronco in the driveway. And then from there, my grandpa, he owned A&H Racing up in Gladwin. Okay. That was a big mechanic shop, and he used to drag race, and so I would go with him to the track. Checking tire pressures and just little stuff like that, and that really kind of got things started. Up through high school, I met my best friend Jared, and we were building hot rods. We threw together a couple really quick Camaros and a few things, just tinkered around. Eventually got into demolition derbies, and so we got to run a lot of those in the bump and grinds, and it's kind of cool.
So much fun.
Oh, they are. It's kind of cool to where you're maybe doing something and it's not necessarily the right way, but it's the way to make it work.
It's like that. There's a term called derby welds.
Yep. Right. They don't always have to be pretty.
Right. That's pretty much a pretty common way that we all kind of got started. It's not taken away from anything, but I think it's just that the state that we're in, like our dads or a family member, something got us started, and it's a beautiful way to get started because we learned from what they did, and then we can keep going from that.
Oh yeah, and like I said, we get to pass it down. I'm fortunate enough to have kids of my own, and so one day I hope to pass all this down to them.
Yep. Like I tell everybody, it's doing cars is as expensive as a cocaine habit, just not illegal.
Right. It is.
Right. So what was your very first car?
My very first car, I actually had a truck, was a 95 F150 that my grandpa helped me work on. We did stuff like exhaust and put some wheels and a radio and stuff in it. And then I wrecked it when I was 15. So really, it was not even my first truck I got to drive. I did have a 95 Dakota after that. That was my first kind of through high school driving around. Had some graphics on it. I put loud exhaust on it. Just kind of a real story. Yep, the typical 16-year-old thing to do.
Yep. Stereo and graphics and...
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what's your current project right now?
So right now, I've got a 1980 Lincoln Mark 6. It's a super cool car. It's basically a Crown Vic, but really, really fancy. At this point, it's mostly stock. I've done some wheels and tires, stuff like that, but I've got some plans for it. But it was pretty cool. I actually bought it from a gentleman out of Bay City. He had owned it, and then he passed away, and his son was selling off some things, and one of my good friends, Justin Stilson, he got a hold of me and said, hey, I think I've got something you might be interested in. I had to tell him, sure enough, I am. So I went and picked it up. I've owned it for a couple years now.
Nice. So what's in there for a motor?
It's got a 351 Windsor. So it was 1980 was the only year that was available in that car.
So what's better, the Windsor or the Cleveland? Because I'm a Chevy guy, not a Ford guy.
A lot depends on what you're doing. The Windsors are a little bit nicer for a street car. You can get a little more parts for them. The Clevelands are great. They've got big ports in the heads. They can run really well. There's a lot of performance stuff out there for them. But I typically go with the Windsor, just a little easier to find parts for.
Okay. Sometimes it's the ease of finding stuff that makes it more worthwhile to build, Right. So if you break something on the side of the road, you're not like, oh crap, can't find a Cleveland part.
Yeah, we don't need any of that.
Right.
Because that's a car too that my main goal with the car is to drive it. I threw my family in the car and we went down to Pontiac for roadkill nights. I've driven it up to St. Ignace and cruised around there for the car show. So it's a car that I want to have on the road as much as possible.
All right, so what's your 5-year plan for that car?
Well, I would like to make it a little quicker. It's got to do a burnout.
That's almost a requirement of everything.
Right. The 140 horse from 1980 just isn't doing it.
I don't think 140 horse in 1980 was 140 horse. I don't know what they were using for their SAE power numbers, but
maybe 140 ducks or something. I don't know.
Right, with duck power.
But yeah, I do plan to pep it up a little bit. I want to start taking the car and doing various events with it. Although it's doesn't handle well, I want to take it to an autocross and maybe work on it through that. And I'd love to take it drag race and make it, you know, a 10-minute pass,
right?
Stuff like that. You know, just I want to be able to use the car, but kind of make it fun.
You know, I've been doing autocross and seen a full, like we're talking a crew cab, long box, dually, doing autocross like back in the day, and that was, you know, it was like, oh, what is that dude doing? I was like, he's having fun. That's what he's doing.
Yep.
You know, what more can you ask for out of it?
Oh yeah, one of my favorite quotes. I heard that roadkill out. You know, sometimes it's more fun to drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow.
That's very true.
And I've got a slow car, so.
Right, and I always say, life's too short to drive boring cars.
Right. Right. It is. That it is.
So if you had to look back at all the cars you've owned, because you know you're a car guy, I know you've owned more than a couple. What's the favorite car you've owned? I
think besides the Lincoln, my first quote unquote cool car was a 95 Mustang GT. I bought it, and the guy had plans to turn it into like a Street Outlaws type of build, but never did anything with it. And so I bought it and drove it around, and that was kind of my first performance-oriented car. Again, not very fast, but something somewhat cool.
It was fast to somebody.
Yeah, it was. Like I said, and as far as my first kind of hot rod car. So I would say that's probably my next favorite.
Nice. What was all done to that?
Again, not a whole lot. I put exhaust on it, you know, a couple little things, but I didn't get a chance to do a whole lot with that when I had it.
Nice. Is there any cars that you are kind of like on your bucket list? We all have our bucket list.
Oh,
let's give it your top 5 bucket list cars.
Number 1 has got to be a '69 Mustang. You know, my dad was a Ford guy. I'm kind of a Ford guy at heart, and a '69 Mustang Fastback to me is just the coolest car. After that, of course, with being in a shop called American Gasser and being around my grandpa, the drag race, I've always had a thing for the gassers. Okay. I'd love to own like a 41 Willys Gasser, or maybe even like a 50s Ford. You know, just that kind of cool straight axle, nose high, that old drag race feel.
Kind of like Blasphemy.
Yep, just like that. That would be really cool. Wagons are another one. I'm a big wagon fan.
I like wagons.
You know, like a 60s Ford wagon, or, you know, like the old 50s Nomad, or anything like that. Just would be so cool to have something like that. Again, that could handle would be awesome. You know, make a big car like that handle would be great.
Because the 60s Nomad has the rear glass and it goes straight down, right? It does, or goes up, not down. It does something really cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Wagons were just cool cars. Yeah. You know. I'm also a big fan of the old trucks. I like the 70s era Fords. My dad's had a handful of, you know, the bump side and dent side Fords. He's actually got a 78 F-250 right now that we're kind of working on. So I've always had a soft spot for the old Ford trucks.
I guess I'm old enough, I guess I can say, when trucks were trucks.
Right. They were. That was, like I said, they made them different back then. It was a truck. And then probably, I guess I'm getting into some of the newer stuff that I like. I do like the Ford GTs. I've always wanted to own like the old 506 era GT. There's just something about those cars is really cool. I got to sit in Bill Ford's Ford GT. It was out on a test drive, and it ended up, before they were released, it ended up at a gas station off 75, and me and my buddy were out cruising, and I ran into it. And we were talking to the guy, and he's like, "Want to sit in it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." Of course. So I got some cool pictures and stuff of that, and they did snapping pictures, and it was definitely cool. I'd love to own one. I'm not a Ford guy. I don't own a Ford GT. They're super cool. Even the 04, 05, 06, whatever. Those ones are cool. And then even the new ones that just came out, they're super cool also. Those are cool. A little bit out of my budget, but they're very cool.
The way that my bank account is set up, the thing is.
Right. So we can talk a little bit about, with permission, right? The cars behind us, some of the cars in the shop, because these are beautiful. Normally we talk about your stuff, but we're around too much nice stuff for me not to ask, right? Oh, of course. Oh, yeah. Feel free, like, say, so yeah, the yellow car here is a 65 Biscayne. This is owned by one of our great customers. He's got 5 or 6 other cars that we've worked on. He's got one of his cars in the metal shop right now. But this car came in, it had a 572 in it, you know, kind of set up as a street strip car. But that wasn't good enough. So we actually swapped in a GM Performance 632. So now it's
1,000
Nice.
horse. We've put in a cage. We've done some work to it.
I want to look closer at it because you hear about that motor coming out, and I've never seen one in person yet.
Oh.
I'm sitting right behind me.
Oh yeah, it was so cool. Like say we went over to his garage to pull the 572 out,
Right.
and it just I had to stand there a minute and look at it. It was just so cool to actually see it in person. And yeah, I mean, when we fired this thing up for the first time, it was sitting behind me and knocked some grinding discs out of the cabinet on the wall.
Son of a good motor.
Oh, it's an animal.
Nice. Right behind us.
So we got a couple behind us. The 66 Chevelle is a really cool car. That's got a bunch of pro touring type of build stuff to it. Suspension, brakes, GM Performance LS3. That's another one. Like we actually did a full build on that car. It went through metal work, paint and body, all the electrical. And it's kind of cool because that's another car he's going to drive. It's got air conditioning. It's got cruise control. I mean, it's basically a Camaro, a new Camaro that looks like a 66 Chevelle.
That's absolutely incredible. And I know this one's off camera. We can show it in post. The car sitting next to you, it's all tore apart.
Yeah, this 66 Fairlane, this is actually the boss's car. It came in as a project, and it's kind of funny. We kind of claimed to be the first ones to un-Coyote swap something. It had the Coyote in it when he got it, and he was talking about doing a manual transmission swap and talking about maybe doing a blower at some point. And it just so happened to come across a complete drivetrain from a 2007 Shelby GT500. And so it had the blower, it had the manual. So we pulled the Coyote out and threw the dual overhead cam 4 in it.
That's pretty not terrible.
No, I'd say not too many people are un-Coyote swapping something.
Right, because back in the day, back in the 90s, they were doing all LT1 swaps, and then now it's all LS swap stuff, and then now you're seeing more and more of the Coyote swaps. And I'm a GM guy, but look, you gotta give credit where credit is due, and those Coyotes, they make steam.
They do. They really do. Like I say, we do a lot of engine swaps. That's one we haven't done a whole lot of, but excited to do so.
Right. Is there anything else notable in the shop that you can think of that you're like, yeah, what's your favorite thing in the shop right now? I should ask.
Oh, that's a tough question. There is a lot of cool stuff. It's hard to pick a favorite. Really, I mean, there's definitely some notable cars up front in the showroom. There's a '68 Camaro, a Pro Street car that I personally got to do a bunch of work on. It's one of my first bigger projects. And it's a completely streetable, big tire Pro Street car. There's a '69 Trans Am that's all we factory restored to original. There's, like I said, we got a '61 Impala in the metal shop that's going to be a really cool high-end build. There's a lot of stuff.
I don't think you guys do anything low on here. I've been coming here to get Nitro refills for years, and there's nothing low on that comes out of the shop. Everything's beautiful.
Oh yeah, like so we really take pride in, like I said, doing our best work on every project and making every project better than the last. And like it's been cool because we've had some really cool stuff come through. I mean, we did the Hemi swap on a PT Cruiser. That's what we've done.
That's the one that should have been in that.
It should have. Stuff like I say, a lot of engine swaps, just a lot of really cool cars.
That's pretty incredible, dude. Like, I just can't. I'm just so overwhelmed, and I'm so overwhelmed in here that it's like there's even a Jeep back there.
Yeah,
and that's got the 4.3 in it. Right, and that's pretty cool. And then the Fairlane back there is cool, and there's a real Bronco sitting right there. A real Bronco. Like I said, pulled it out of the woods. That's trail rig Bronco. That is absolutely fantastic. So, beside being here, do you have any other hobbies? A little bit. Like I said, I mean, I do a lot of camping and stuff with my family. Some hunting and fishing. I do a little bit of art and drawing and stuff just in my free time. But I mean, of course, as a lot of us are, a lot of it's centered around cars. Right. I mean, and doing everything around family too is extremely important. Like, I've got kids, and it's fun to bring them and do stuff with them and take them to car shows and stuff like that. And I know you guys are frequent flyers at, like, say, Autorama. Right. Yeah. We try to hit as many shows as we can, and Autorama is one of the big ones. Personally, it's one of my favorites. These two, actually, the Biscayne and the Chevelle, will both be going down there. We'll take at least 2, 3, 4 cars every year. Right, because Autorama Detroit is like Super Bowl, because that's where they give away the Rattler. Right.
Yeah, and I mean, you're talking some of the best builders down there, and some awesome vehicles, you know. And one day, like I said, we'll hopefully to do something that's able to compete.
Dude, let me tell you, I've gone to Autorama a bunch and been in it a few times, and these aren't that far off. I mean, you look at some of the builds, and it's a lot of lighting and a lot of mirrors and a lot of just, it's the display makes the car a lot too. And
yeah, and it's a customer too. You know, everybody wants something different. You know, if someone wants to build a Rattler car, we can do that.
Right, it's just open the pocketbook that far. It's got to stretch.
A little time and some money.
Effort, money. Yep. Everything takes money, man.
It does.
So do you have any socials, like social medias, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, that people can follow your stuff in?
I do. For the shop, we've got a Facebook and an Instagram. You know, it's American Gasser Hot Rod Shop on Facebook, and then we're American_Gasser on Instagram. And then personally, I've got a few different ones, Instagram and YouTube and TikTok. I'm Slingshot302.
Sweet, dude. You know something? And this was completely last minute for us to come in here too, and I'm picking up a big block from you.
Right.
And we're going to do an interview. I was like, Greg, where is it? And he's like, it's inside American Gasser. And I'm like, yeah, this is going to be awesome. We're doing that one for sure. Wow. Because it's, like I said, I've been in here a couple times getting Nitro sheet refills, and you look and there's always something cool in here. And I know there's some things that we asked before and that you can't talk about, and that's perfectly okay.
Yeah, there's
too.
a couple.
Right. And I know that you guys have, as American Gasser, have some high-end award cars that I've seen. It's the 34 Rattler, that's the wheel. There's the car I see up front, right? We've got the Rattler. Actually, that was a Willys Gasser that we built for Race Star Wheels back. This is probably 6-7 years ago. That one's kind of made the tour around the country. We've got a lot of high-end show car stuff. We do a lot of stuff for out-of-state customers as well. We've sent cars to Hawaii, New York, Montana, Georgia. I mean, all over. Yeah, because you guys had the map up front too that has a pin. Well, I know that I've talked to the office lady before, and she said that some of the pins have fallen out, but like a pin where everything you guys have sent a car, worked on a car from, and it's covering a lot.
There's quite a few, especially with the Willys. You know, the shop started in 2008 down in Ohio, and they did strictly Willys Gassers, and so that's really kind of a niche market. So we really got known for that. And once we moved up here, we did branch out. Obviously, there's, you know, anything from your 20s and 30s coupes to some modern performance cars. But the Willys is kind of really what brings in the customers from all around.
What you guys are most notable for.
Right.
Well, and let me assure you, it's the quality of work that comes out of this place, because I've had some people that have asked me to do some work, and I'm like, that's beyond my wheelhouse. Call American Gasser. And you guys are booked up until God knows when, you know? Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing. We do have a waiting list. We are booked up, but hopefully that's a testament to the work that we're doing.
Oh, it is, dude. Everything I've seen that comes out of this place is incredible. And you guys also have a car show once a year too, right?
Yeah, we do have a car show usually around the middle of the summer. The date hasn't been announced yet, but we'll be having one of those. And of course, you know, we go to as many shows as we can every year. You know, we're hitting stuff like Frankenmuth, a lot of the Back to the Bricks events are a big thing. You know, and Ignis is another one. So we hit as many shows as possible. But yeah, we'll have our open house car show sometime in the middle of the summer, and that'll be, like I said, we'll have a bunch of projects in here. There's a car show, there's food, music. It's usually a great time.
Yeah, I've been to it a couple of times, and it is a good time. I can give a test to that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So beside American Gasser and your own personal project stuff, is there any other, like, any people, shops that you want to thank for that have helped you along the way?
Oh, of course, like I say, you know, I've of course got to thank my family, you know, my friends. Like I say, you know, Jared and I we got our start wrenching on cars together back in high school. And then with the company, I mean, there's a lot of people that we work with, you know, companies like Be Cool Radiators, Classic Instruments, you know, different exhaust people like Flowmaster and Borland, stuff like that. I mean, we work with a lot of great companies too.
Good. I heard you say Be Cool. Justin the Rock, if you're watching this, we want to do one of these with you.
Yeah,
I've known Justin for a long time.
Awesome.
So he's a cool dude.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah. I mean, you know,
and they're local to the area too.
Right. We do love to do work with a lot of local people, and of course, I mean, they're one of the best.
Oh, absolutely, they are. So, with that being said, Thanks for having us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Everybody, make sure you click the follow and the like button, and we will catch you on the next one.